What do you make of the not the discrepancy, just completely opposite interpretations of how, at least publicly, about how much politics should factor into the decisions of the court, right? Yesterday, Chutkan's like, what election? Doesn't matter. This court does not see politics. And Merchan literally naming the election as a factor in delaying this sentencing hearing.
Yeah, look, I think Judge Merchan is saying the quiet part out loud. I think you see often that prosecutors, whether they say they do or not, at every stage, whether choosing to make investigative decisions to open an investigation, whether choosing to charge certain individuals, even at sentencing, I mean, they're not living in a vacuum, right? Politics are out there. And so the question is, how much do you really let that affect your decision making? And Judge Chutkan, I think, again, is correct in saying it really shouldn't have an impact. The case is the case. You are a defendant. You are not. Your candidacy is your day job. That's how she put it. I think that is the right way to do it. But again, I think Judge Merchan kind of recognizing here that I agree with Duncan. I think the Manhattan DA's office will seek a jail sentence. I think that is appropriate under these facts. Again, Michael Cohen, who is not as culpable, went to jail for 3 years for the same thing. So I think they'll seek it. I think the judge is likely to impose it. And then, given the gravity of that,
they know they can't do that before the election.
Do you really think 41 days before it, or it would even be less now, it's 41 days before the election, you impose that sentence and really look like you're tipping the scales? You're going to have both sides, either way, blaming both the judge and the prosecutors. Right. The left is going to come out and
let's be clear, though. The left is not threatening the lives of those involved in this case.
100%.
And one can imagine those calls, those death threats would only increase if Judge Merchan handed down a jail sentence for Donald Trump 3 weeks before the election.
Absolutely. That said, the only point I was going, and there's then not a both sides here. Yeah. Like one side is clearly doing unhinged people doing really scary things, credible death threats. On the other hand, if Trump were to win, I could see plenty of people second guessing, well, you allowed him to be a martyr. You made him a victim of political persecution. Was this really necessary for jail for something that, other prosecutors may not have brought? And so I could see that kind of happening too. I think both sides would blame. Again, one is scary and one is not. But do they really want to deal with that? I think that was at least a factor likely in the Manhattan DA's office decision to, go along with Trump's request.